In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the Reflections panel inside of the Advanced Material Editor. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up our Advanced Material Editor and make sure that we're under the Reflections tab there. Now inside of the Reflections tab, we have Global Reflectivity. So obviously this is going to sound very familiar to the transparency. So if we wanted to add reflectivity to our material here, we'll go ahead and we'll bump up the global reflectivity. Now, the higher you go with this, the more light is going to reflect off of the material. Now, in the last lesson, we talked about transparencies and we talked about refraction. This is not to be confused with reflection. Okay? Now, refraction is just light bouncing off of the material, and it's not actually bouncing off of it as if it's like a mirror. Okay? Reflection is going to do that. So you can see here our material is like a chrome ball. Now global reflectivity is going to control how much is being reflected back. So if you want to go to about 50%, you're going to see some of that there, but most of all the material itself is going to be the main factor in this. Okay? Now blurred reflections. Blurred reflections are going to control how blurry objects appear as they are further away from this object. So if I have something off in the distance, it may appear perfectly reflected in my material. Now if I take this blurred reflection up, that's going to appear more and more blurred, and it's going to give us kind of this imperfection in our reflectivity here. So as you can see, as I bump this up, this becomes more distorted. Okay, let's take it all the way back down. You can see how clear that is. Now we have our effects here, and we have variable reflectivity, and we have use reflection map. So variable reflectivity, if we check that, again, we're going to be able to drive this by a function. So let's click on this. Let's choose a function, and I'm going to choose this drought here. Now you'll see that the black areas have 0 reflectivity, and the white areas have more reflectivity. And again, we can drive this by our filters, so we can adjust to where those black areas are a little more reflective, or we can drop down the white areas, make them less reflective. Now what I want to do is go ahead and click on my reflectivity. Let's right click and edit the filter. Let's add a key right here in the middle, and let's adjust this way up here. So that way it's going to make our gray areas more reflective. We'll hit OK on that, and you'll see how that pops that out a little bit more. Now the blurring itself, you can turn that completely off. So let's go to Edit Filter. Let's grab this last point. Let's just turn that off there. We'll hit OK, and we're going to be able to see more distance objects in those areas. You can adjust your scale on this just like we had before. So if you want to type this down to like 0.5, 0.5 all the way across, you can tile that function on your material, make that seem like broken glass there. Okay. And then we can use a reflection map, and this brings up another set of objects or options here. Now you'll see how we have 0 reflectivity. If we want this to work, we need to have a black and white image, and it's going to work just like our function would. Any areas that are white are going to cause reflection, and any areas that are black, there's going to be no reflection. Now we have to use a texture map in this case, and we wouldn't be able to use the function here. Okay. Now I could do a mixture of both. You can see here that my function is still being derived on this material. So if I want to load a bitmap, let's just hit load here, and let's try to find something that's just black and white on some of these. I don't want to use anything crazy. Let's try this terrain brush. Let's do like terrain 4 or even terrain 1. Now when we turn that on, you'll see that the area that is black here is showing up, well, I can't really tell on this material. Any area that's white is reflective. Any area that's black is going to be non-reflective. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more reflectivity here. If I adjust up my global reflectivity, you can see that happening there. Right? Now, that is our reflection maps here. And if we want to turn those off, let's just turn off that use reflection map. And we'll just drive this by a function here. So we've taken a look at how reflections work inside of View, and in our next lesson we're going to take a look at translucency and how that can help us with our materials. So I'll see you then.